The forest was quiet, but not peaceful. Tall trees stood like guards, their branches moving slowly in the wind. The sun was setting, and the last orange light touched the leaves. Birds had stopped singing. Even the wind sounded like a whisper. A strange kind of whisper. Lena walked slowly, her basket half full of herbs. She had dark hair tied in a loose braid and a small knife at her side. She wasn't afraid of the forest. She had been coming here since she was 10. Now she was 16. She knew the paths. She knew the plants. She knew the animals, but today felt different. She paused, looking around. The forest didn't look dangerous, but something didn't feel right. She heard it again, a soft sound, like someone breathing near her ear. She turned quickly. Nothing was there, just the wind. She whispered to herself. She picked a few more blue leaf herbs and started walking back toward home. The forest path was getting darker now. She needed to hurry. Then she heard it. A small cry, like a baby animal. She stopped. The sound came again from behind a thick bush. Lena bent down slowly and moved the leaves aside. There, curled in a ball, was a small creature, no bigger than a house cat. Its skin was smooth and shiny, like silver with a soft glow. It had tiny wings folded tight against its body, and a long tail with little spikes. It was a baby dragon. Lena's eyes widened. She had read about dragons in old books, but never seen one. No one in her village had. Dragons were said to be extinct. Legends, but this one was real. The little dragon opened its eyes. They were bright blue and filled with fear. A small cut bled on its leg. It tried to crawl away, but it was too weak. Hey. It's okay, Lena said softly, holding out her hand. The dragon looked at her, shaking. She moved slowly, gently placing her hand near its head. It sniffed her fingers, then leaned forward and touched her palm. You're hurt. Let me help. She tore a strip from her scarf and wrapped the dragon's leg. It made a soft sound like a cat's purr. She smiled. I'm going to call you Roo. Suddenly, Roo's ears twitched. He looked toward the trees. Lena followed. His gaze. The forest had gone completely silent. No birds. No wind. Then she heard it. A low growl. Branches snapped somewhere deep in the forest. Lena stood up, holding Roo close to her chest. We have to go, now. She began walking fast, trying to stay quiet. Roo stayed still in her arms. His small body trembled. She looked behind her. Nothing, then a rustle in the bushes. She turned quickly, her heart beating faster. Nothing again. But the growl came closer. Lena started running. She didn't know where, just away from the sound. Her feet hit roots and rocks, but she kept going. Roo gave a small squeak, holding tighter to her. She saw an old log ahead and ducked behind it. Sitting low, trying to breathe silently, the growl stopped. Then. She saw them, eyes, red eyes glowing in the shadows. 1, 2, 3 pairs. They moved slowly, low to the ground. And then they stepped into the light. Monster rats. They were the size of wild dogs. Their skin was rough, tails long and thin, and their teeth sharp and yellow. One of them sniffed the air. It growled again. Roo whimpered softly. Lena pressed her hand over his mouth. Shh. The rats looked toward the log. One of them stepped closer, sniffing. Lena held her breath. The rat's nose twitched. It opened its mouth. Drool dripped onto the ground. She could smell them now, like old meat and wet dirt. The rat placed one paw on the log, just a little higher, and it would see. Lena's hand slowly moved to the small knife at her waist. She looked down at Roo. He looked back, scared, and then a snap. Somewhere far in the woods, a branch broke. The rats turned. A sound again, another direction. A distraction. Lena took her chance. She jumped up and ran like her life depended on it. Because it did. Branches slapped her face, thorns cut her arms, but she didn't stop. Rue cried, but she held him tight. Behind her, the rats howled. They were chasing her. She could hear their paws hitting the ground. Getting closer, but then she saw a hollow tree ahead, big enough to hide inside. She ran to it, dropped inside the hole, and pulled Rue close. They sat in the darkness, breathing hard, listening. The rats ran past. Lena didn't move. Not yet. Rue looked up at her. She whispered, "We're okay for now." But then, from deep inside the forest, they heard a new sound. Not rats, not wind. A deep growl. Slow, powerful. Something bigger was coming. Something worse. Asterisk. The night was falling fast. Lena sat in the hollow tree, holding Rue close. Her heart was still beating hard from running. Her hands were shaking. Rue's small body felt warm against her chest. His silver skin glowed faintly, just enough to see his eyes wide and scared. Outside, the forest was not silent anymore. It was alive, but not in a good way. Twigs snapped, leaves rustled. Heavy paws crushed the ground. Something was hunting. Lena kept her back against the wood and whispered, "Don't move. Don't breathe." Rue made a soft hum, his wings twitching. He could feel it too. The danger was not over. Suddenly, there was a low growl, just a few feet away. Then another, and another. 3 shadows moved between the trees. Then they stopped. One lifted its head and sniffed the air. A long pink tongue flicked out. Its ears were pointed and twitching. Its red eyes glowed like coals. It was not just a big rat. It was something wrong. Its legs were twisted but strong. Its back had bony spikes. It walked like it had tasted something. It wanted more of. It walked like it wanted to taste her. The monster rat crept closer to the hollow tree. Lena held Rue tighter. His glowing skin flickered. He was trying to make it stop. The rat stepped closer. Its nose touched the tree. Sniff, sniff, sniff. Then it paused. It growled louder this time. A warning. The second rat appeared beside it, licking its sharp teeth. Lena closed her eyes for a second. She remembered what her grandfather once told her. Fear is not your enemy. Silence is. So she moved slowly. Very slowly. Her hand reached into her bag. She found what she needed, a small red berry. It smelled strong, sharp. She threw it far into the trees. Pfft. The rats turned fast. One of them let out a loud screech and ran toward the sound. The other followed, but the third. The third one didn't move. It kept staring at the tree. And her. It knew. Lena held her breath. The rat stepped closer. Its claws scratched the bark. Slowly, it raised one paw. Then crack. A loud sound echoed through the forest. A tree fell somewhere far. Birds flew up, screaming. The rat turned its head. And that was enough. Lena jumped out of the hollow tree and ran. She didn't know where. She didn't care. She just ran. She jumped over roots, ducked under branches, pushed through leaves. Rue was holding onto her tightly. Now his tiny claws dug into her jacket, but she didn't mind. The air felt colder. The trees were thicker. And then she saw it. A light, a soft golden glow behind the trees. She ran toward it, breathing hard. And stopped. In front of her stood an old wooden cabin. The windows were cracked. The door was half open. Moss covered the walls. But the light, it came from inside. It looked abandoned, but not empty. She stepped in, slowly. The floor creaked. Dust flew up. There were old books, broken chairs, and maps on the wall. A large symbol was carved into the wood. A dragon's eye. Rue jumped from her arms and walked to a table. He sniffed an old cloth, then sat. Lena looked around. This place. It felt strange, like someone had lived here, someone who knew dragons. She walked to the back of the room and found a box. Inside was a book, small, leather-bound. She opened it. The writing was messy but clear. They are after the young ones. The rats hunt the weak, but the roar awakens when fear meets fire. She frowned. The roar awakens? Root tilted his head, his eyes glowing softly. Outside, a noise broke the silence. A scratching dot at the door. Lena froze. Then a shadow passed. The window. A whisper-like breath moved through the cracks in the wall. She grabbed Rue and stepped back. The door creaked. Something was out there. No. Some things were out there. Lena backed away, slowly, holding Rue close again, and just then she saw it, on the wall, behind an old curtain carved deep into the wood. Beware the Rat King. He speaks in silence. He walks in shadow. He wants the fire that sleeps. Lena looked down at Rue. His eyes were glowing brighter now. He was the fire, and they were coming for him. The door moved, just a little, enough to make the wooden cabin groan. Lena froze. She stood still in the dark corner of the cabin, her back against the cold wall. Rue pressed into her chest, trembling. His small body was hot, too hot. He was glowing brighter now, not light, but heat. Something inside him was waking up. Outside, the scratching stopped. Silence. Then snap. The door swung open, but it wasn't the rats. It was the wind. Cold, sharp, and sudden. The wind pushed through the room. It blew out the tiny lantern flame. Papers flew. The old map on the wall tore in half. The forest had gone mad. Lena turned fast, looking for an escape. The back door was jammed shut. The window was cracked but too small. Her eyes scanned the cabin. Then she saw it, a trapdoor in the floor. Half covered by a rug, she rushed over, pulled the rug away, and lifted the wooden hatch. A dark tunnel stared back at her. She didn't think. She just jumped in. The hatch slammed, shut above her. Silence again. Only her breath. Only Rue's small gasps. The tunnel was narrow, made of stone and roots. She crawled forward, the walls wet and cold. It smelled of earth, old fire, and something else, something metallic. Blood? No. Not fresh. Old, dry. She moved fast, crawling, hands burning on the stone floor. Behind her, faint sounds. Scratches. Something had entered the cabin. They were inside. She had to move. Now. After minutes that felt like hours, the tunnel opened up into a large underground cave. There was light here, dim blue light that came from the rocks. Lena stood slowly, brushing off dust. Rue jumped from her arms and sniffed the air. He walked ahead. Rue, where are you going? But Rue kept walking, his small paws glowing. Softly now. He walked like he knew the way, like he'd been here before. Lena followed, deeper into the cave. The path twisted and turned, until it opened into a large circular chamber. In the center of the room was a stone pedestal. Ro climbed onto it and sat. The ground rumbled. The walls glowed brighter. Rue closed his eyes. And then a roar. Not loud. Not outside. Inside her mind. Lena stumbled back. The room shook. Rue's body lifted into the air, just a little. His wings opened wide. Glowing patterns formed on the walls. Symbols. Old language. Then all at once, it stopped. Rue dropped back onto the stone. He opened his eyes. They were no longer blue. They were gold. He looked straight at Lena. Something had changed, but before she could speak, she heard it. A hiss. A growl. A scrape. Not from behind. From above. Lena looked up and saw claws reaching down from a hole in the ceiling. 1, 2, 3 monster rats. They were dropping in. No. She grabbed Rue. He didn't resist. She ran past the pedestal, down another dark tunnel, through falling stones and echoing growls. She ran like her legs were fire. The rats followed. Their claws scratched the stone. Their teeth snapped in the air behind her. One almost caught her backpack. She let it fall. No time to stop. Just run. Rue let out a sudden chirp, a strange, sharp sound. A flash of light burst from his body, just enough to blind the rats for a Moment. Lena turned a corner and saw an exit. Faint sunlight pouring through a small break in the rock. She squeezed through. Rue still in her arms, and fell out into the open air. She was in a hidden valley, trees all around. Fog rising from the ground. In silence. The rats didn't follow, not yet. She stood, heart racing, lungs burning. Rue jumped to the ground. He looked back at the cave. He wasn't scared anymore. But Lena was because now she knew the rats weren't just chasing them. They were guarding something buried. Deep underground. Something connected to Rue, something dark. She looked at Rue. What are you? He didn't answer, but his golden eyes glowed brighter. And somewhere in the distance, a new growl rose, not from a rat, something bigger. The valley was still. No birds, no wind, just fog and silence. Lena sat under an old tree, her arms wrapped around her knees. Rue lay beside her, his wings folded, his golden eyes watching the mist move between the trees. He had changed, not just his eyes, not just the light in his body. Something inside him had awakened. And Lena had seen it. She didn't know what to say. She didn't know if he could understand her. But still, she whispered, "You're not just a baby dragon, are you?" Rue blinked. Slowly. Then he stood up and began walking. Lena followed. They moved through the valley, past twisted roots and stone pillars half buried in moss. This place felt inanent, not just old but forgotten. Hidden. Soon they came to a wooden fence, broken and overgrown with vines. Behind it stood a second cabin, smaller than the first. The wood was blackened, in places burned, long ago. Rue walked straight inside. The air was thick. Dust, ash, and something sweet like honey mixed with smoke. The room was filled with strange items, bones carved with runes, glass jars with glowing liquid. Maps with red ink marks. And in the center, a tall mirror, cracked, with something written. At the top. Lena wiped off the dust and read it. To see what once was, stand with fire. She looked at Rue. He stepped closer to the mirror. And then, the glass shimmered, not a reflection, a memory. The mirror lit up with color, shapes, and light. It showed a man, tall, bearded, with kind eyes, holding a baby dragon in his arms. Not Rue, but another like him. Around them were more dragons, small, bright, flying through the forest. It was this forest. Long ago. The man was smiling. He wore a cloak with a dragon symbol stitched into it. Then the scene changed. Darkness, fire, screaming. The dragons were running. The man was fighting. Rats, giant, twisted, hundreds of them, crawling out of the ground like shadows made of teeth. Then, one giant rat, the Rat King, twice as tall as a man, his body covered in black armor, his voice low and cruel. "Bring me the fire child." The mirror went dark. Lena stepped back, her hands shaking. Rue was staring at the mirror, silent. He had seen it too. "I think," Lena swallowed, "I think the Rat King wants you." She turned and saw a journal on the table, half burned. She opened it carefully. The pages crackled. The writing said, "The dragons of fire sleep deep within the forest. Their power is old, too powerful. The Rat King cannot kill them, so he waits for one to be born, small, weak, alone. Then he strikes. But if the fire child roars before he is taken, the balance is broken, and the forest will burn him away." Lena looked at Rue, her voice low. "You're not just being hunted, you're the key." Rue stepped closer. He leaned his head against her chest. She closed the book. "We need to stop running." She stood tall. "We need to fight." But just then, boom. The ground shook. A low rumble echoed across the valley. Lena ran outside. A black cloud was rising from the trees. Smoke. Then came the screeching. Hundreds of voices. Rats. They had found the valley. She turned to Rue. He wasn't scared. Not anymore. He spread his wings and let out a tiny growl. A flame flickered from his nose. He was ready. But Lena knew one thing. They were outnumbered. They needed help, real help. She looked at the map from the burned cabin, saw a symbol in the north corner. A tower, marked Watcher's Rise. A message was written beside it. The last dragon friend lives there. He remembers. Lena folded the map, grabbed Rue, and ran. Not away from danger, but toward the secret that could save them all. Behind them, the forest burned. Ahead of them, the truth waited. And deep in the shadows. The Rat King smiled. He knew the fire child had awakened. The wind had stopped, not slowed. Stopped. Not a single leaf moved, not a single bird sang. Lena stood at the edge of the burning forest. Behind her, black smoke curled into the sky. The fire was growing, but it was not wild. It moved in circles, controlled, like someone was guiding it. Rue sat on her shoulder, eyes glowing gold. Wings tight against his back, he was shaking, but not in fear. In anger. They had seen the valley burn. They had seen the cave collapse. They had seen the forest twist with smoke. It was no longer just a hunt. It was war. And the enemy had finally arrived, somewhere. Deeper in the woods. The trees here were old and dying. The roots were cracked and dry. The ground was black. Nothing lived here. Not anymore. In the center of the dead forest, a massive pit opened wide. A hole into the earth. Into rot. Into silence. From the pit he rose. The Rat King. His armor was made of bone and metal, rusted and dark. His tail dragged behind him like a whip. His head was crowned with twisted horns. His eyes glowed red, not bright, but deep like coals in a dead fire. He didn't walk. He moved slow, steady, cruel. Behind him came his army, hundreds of monster rats, crawling, sniffing, growling. Some had scars. Some had 2 heads. Some wore pieces of stolen armor, human bones, tied to their backs like trophies. They followed him because they were afraid. Even they didn't know what he truly was. A king? A beast? Or something worse? The Rat King lifted his clawed hand. The rats. Stop. He spoke. His voice was like stone grinding on stone. The fire lives. A rat near him nodded. Yes, my king. The child breathed still. The Rat King growled low. Not for long. Back with Lena. She was climbing the northern ridge, heading for Watcher's Rise, the place marked on the old map. The air was thin here. Sharp. Every step felt harder, not because of the climb, because of the weight of what she now knew. Rue wasn't just her friend. He was the last spark, and the Rat King wanted to crush that spark into ash. She reached the top and saw it. A tall stone tower, half broken, but still standing. Vines wrapped around it. A single light flickered from the top window. She knocked on the heavy wooden door. No answer. She knocked again. Please, I need help. Still nothing. Then Rue jumped from her shoulder and pressed his paw against the door. It opened. Inside, the tower smelled like dust, smoke, and something sweet. Like warm honey. A man sat near a fire. His hair was silver. His eyes were gold. He wore the same dragon symbol Lena had seen in the cabin mirror. He didn't look surprised. You brought him, he said softly. Lena stepped forward. You know, Rue, I know what he is, the man replied. And I know who's coming. Lena swallowed. Can you help us? The man stood slowly. I can teach you, but not for long. The Rat King has already risen. The forest is no longer his cage. He walked to a wall and pulled down a cloth. Behind it was a sword, not metal, not wood. It was made from dragon bone. He looked at her. Do you know how to fight? Lena shook her head. No, then you'll learn. He handed her the sword. It felt cold. Heavy. Real. Then he looked at Rue. Little one, it's time you remember who you are. Rue's eyes flared gold. The man lit a torch, and the flames formed a symbol in the air, a dragon's eye. The moment it appeared, the whole tower shook. Outside, the clouds turned black. Thunder cracked. The sky. The Rat King was coming, not with an army, but with a message. Give me the fire child, or I will burn your world to take him. Asterisk. The night came early. Too early. The sun had vanished behind a wall of storm clouds. The wind howled like it was warning the trees. Leaves twisted in the air. Branches bent low. The forest was no longer hiding the danger. It was preparing for it. In the tower, the old man stood by the window, staring out into the shadows. They're here, he whispered. Lena looked up from where she sat, sharpening the dragonbone sword. Rue stood beside her, still and glowing faintly. His wings fluttered without wind. How many? She asked. The man didn't turn. Too many. He tossed her a small black pouch. Powder bombs. Toss, not swing. Got it. She nodded, her heart thudding in her chest. Down below, between the trees, glowing red eyes began to appear. Dozens. Then hundreds. The Rat King had arrived. Outside the tower, the army of monster rats circled the base. They didn't attack. Not yet. They were waiting. And then he stepped forward. The Rat King. He did not run. He did not speak. He simply raised one clawed finger and pointed at the tower. It was not a command. It was a promise. Inside the tower, the walls shook. Dust rained from the ceiling. Rats had begun climbing. Lena grabbed Rue and looked at the old man. He nodded. You must get to the woods behind the cliff. If he takes Rue, all is lost. What about you? She asked. He smiled sadly. I've lived long enough. Now it's your turn. He pulled a chain from his neck and placed it around Rue's. Ancient. Fire sleeps in him, but pain wakes it. Lena didn't understand. What pain? You'll see. The tower shook again. No time, go. The escape. Lena and Rue burst out the back door just as the front wall exploded inward. Dust. Stone. Screams. They ran. The forest was black with smoke. The trees seemed to bend toward them, like they were watching, protecting, or saying goodbye. Rue leapt into her arms. His body was hot again. His eyes were flickering gold, then blue, then white. He was glowing from the inside. Suddenly, a rat dropped from a branch right in front of them, huge, scarred, drooling. Lena swung the sword, missed. Another rat charged from the side. She threw a powder bomb. Boom. A burst of blue fire. She ran through the smoke, coughing. 3 more rats came. One grabbed her leg. She kicked hard. Rue jumped out of her arms and roared. But it wasn't loud. It was like a broken whistle, sharp. Weak. The rat laughed. Then Rue's body sparked. His eyes went white, and everything changed. Rue awakens. The forest went silent. All light faded. Only Rue glowed. He rose into the air, slow, weightless. Symbols circled him, floating, glowing, ancient. The rats backed away, confused. Then a pulse of light, like a heartbeat of fire. It knocked the rats flat. Lena fell to the ground, shielding her eyes. When she looked up, Rue was floating, but his body looked older, his wings longer, his tail glowing at the tip like a burning candle, and his roar was real. A wave of gold fire rushed forward, clearing the trees, throwing the rats into the shadows. Lena stared, shocked. Rue? He turned toward her. He was crying. One glowing tear fell from his eye. He dropped into her arms, small again, weak. His voice, not words, but a whisper inside her. Mine said, I'm sorry. It's not enough, yet. In the distance, the Rat King stepped into the burned trees. He saw the fire, the light, the destruction. He smiled. For the first time, he spoke out loud. The fire awakens, and when it does, I will steal it. He lifted his hand, and from the shadows something else rose. Not a rat, not a beast, a creature with dragon skin and rat eyes, the fire eater. The sky cracked open with thunder. Lightning split the dark clouds, painting the forest in sharp flashes of white and gold. Lena stood on the edge of the cliff, clutching Rue close to her heart. His small body was weak, but his eyes burned bright golden. Like molten fire, the Rat King's army surrounded them, a sea of glowing red eyes and snarling jaws. The ground trembled beneath their weight. Behind them, the burned forest smoldered. Ahead, only darkness. Lena's voice was steady, but inside, her heart thundered. Rue, it's time. You have to be strong. Rue looked up at her, wings trembling. Suddenly, the Rat King stepped forward, his armor gleaming wet in the storm. Give me the fire, child, he demanded, voice deep and cruel. Or watch everything you love burn. Lena held Rue tighter. No. With a roar, the Rat King raised his claw. The ground split open, and monstrous rats poured out like a flood, their teeth flashing. Lena stepped forward, sword in hand, ready to fight. But then Rue's eyes flared white-hot. A light burst from his body, wrapping Lena in a warm glow. He rose from her arms. Larger now, his wings spread wide like sails of fire. He was no longer the scared little dragon. He was a flame. Made real, the Rat King faltered. The rats recoiled. Rue's roar filled the sky, a deep, powerful sound that shook the very trees. Flames danced around him, not burning, but lighting the forest. With a sudden blast, Rue flew forward, a comet of fire and light. The Rat King raised his claw to block, but Rue's fire burned through armor. Through darkness. The battle shook the forest. Lightning and flame. Fire and shadow. Lena fought beside Rue, her sword cutting through the rats, her spirit strong. Then, in the heart of the chaos, Rue and the Rat King clashed. The Rat King's shadow tried to swallow Rue's light, but Rue's roar was louder. With a final burst, Rue breathed fire, the pure, bright fire of the ancient dragons. The Rat King screamed, his armor melting away, his eyes losing their cruel glow. He fell to his knees, defeated. The forest began to breathe again. Light filtered through the trees. Rats scattered, no longer monsters, but small, frightened creatures. Rue shrank back to his small size, tired but free. Lena knelt beside him, tears on her face. You did it, Rue. You saved us all. He nuzzled her hand softly. And as the sun rose, the forest whispered its thanks. The fire was not just a power god, it was a promise of hope, friendship, and a future where even the smallest dragon can roar the loudest.